Go over whatever. Hello, we're back.
Hello, yes, we are back here once again for the next episode of A Conversation with Kely. Who knows what the episode is at this point, but we did a podcast earlier today. It was over 2 hours long, and for all we know, this could also be over 2 hours long because there is a lot to talk about here. We will be getting into what we are discussing in a little bit, but before I do that, I am here, my lovely new co-host, Allie. How are you doing tonight, I should say?
I'm doing well. I had such a chill day besides like our BB25 week 1 podcast, and I went for a walk. But other than that, I just chilled today, hung out, and just enjoyed one of my days off.
Yeah, I didn't do too much either. I worked like most of the day. Well, not most of the day. I worked until like 1 o'clock, and then I did the podcast with you, and then I passed out. I don't even know why I took a nap, but I guess I was just tired. So other than that, I don't think
sleep is very important.
Sleep is indeed important. But what also is important is what we are going to be discussing, which, Allie, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about the final season of High School Musical, the series.
Yes, I figured that look, Allie and I are recently doing these videos where we're going to start like reviewing TV seasons together over on my channel. But I feel like considering we've talked about every season together minus season 1 and done it as a podcast video, it just kind of makes sense to do the final season as one. I think there's a lot to really discuss here. And we'll get into our thoughts in a little bit. But the first thing I want to ask you going into this is, what did you think of the announcement that this was going to be the final season? Because I know there was like a little bit of speculation like before this. I kept saying I think this is going to be the final season, but what did you think when they actually like made that announcement?
I definitely was sad just because like I really enjoy and love the show so much. Mm-hmm. But it definitely makes sense too because some of them are graduating or already have, and also just like they're all like so busy outside of the show as well. So yeah, I mean, it's probably going to be the last season for at least. I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll come back at some point, like maybe a reunion or a college thing or whatever. That, yeah. But like, it probably won't be for a while.
Yeah, for me, even before they announced this was going to be the final season, I kind of had speculation that it was going to be for a couple reasons. One, I feel like the premise of this season, like, how do you top this? Like, where do you even go from here with just how meta this was going to be, how they were hearkening back to the third movie in a way that they hadn't done before? Like, where do you even go from here after this? So I feel like that alone was enough of indication that we're probably going to end after this one. But then there was also the fact that, so many of them are so incredibly busy. A lot of these actors are getting a lot older, so it's going to be harder for them to buy into the fact, even though in the original HSM, I'm pretty sure most of them were like in their 30s when they did those movies. Yeah. So it's going to be, except for Vanessa Hudgens, I know she was like pretty young when she did them, but even though that's the case, I feel like it's harder to, I feel like it would have been harder for them to.
Well, actually, I think when they did the movies, they were like late teens, early 20s.
I think some of them were older. Like, I think like one of them was like on the older side. I could be wrong though, but
I have to look actually.
Yeah, even though that was the case, like I feel like they probably would have stopped soon just because so many of them are very busy. Joshua Bassett is really pursuing a serious music career. Julia Lester literally just got nominated for a Tony and seems like she's really like having like a very well-established like Broadway career. I feel like Dara Reneé is gonna be like very high in demand with like her Disney Plus show and things like, or her Disney Plus movie that's coming out and things like that. Kate Reinders is like a very well-renowned like theater actress and things like that, so she's got a lot going on. Sophia Wiley is becoming like a serious actress, so I just feel like a lot of them, they're just was going to be less and less time for them to be able to do this show. So I kind of felt like this was going to be the final season. And when it was announced, I was honestly kind of fine with it. I was like, okay, I feel like they've done what they needed to get to this point. Was I a little bit surprised that this was like the final season and not like the penultimate one? I thought maybe there'd be one more after this. Yes. But I feel like this was definitely like a fitting plot line to end the show overall. So yeah, I wasn't too surprised by that. Now, with that being said, as a final season, I'll give my thoughts, and I'll just say right now, I feel like though this wasn't the final season that I expected, and similar to other seasons, full spoilers here, we're going to be talking about everything that happens this season. So if you haven't seen it, go away, watch this season, and then you can come back and watch this video. But I feel like in terms of what this final season turned out to be, it wasn't quite what I expected, but I feel like it was as fitting of an end to the show as we could have possibly gotten. I feel like there's a lot of things the show has struggled with throughout. And that's not to say this final season's perfect, but it comes pretty damn close to it.
I will say,
like easily their best.
I was honestly like, in that sense, I was also a little worried just because season 3 was so good and I loved it so much. I'm like, I don't think it's going to top it, I mean, but it could, but it's hard to say. But it was honestly like so good. It was amazing.
Yeah, my biggest fear going into this season, and I kind of hinted at it before, it was that we have so much going on here. Not only are some of them seniors, but they're also filming a High School Musical 4 movie where some of the original cast is coming back, but they're also doing High School Musical 3, like the show, but they're also trying to bring back like a lot of key characters. So I just wasn't sure if they were going to be able to fit it all, especially in an 8-episode season. I was like, really? Only 8 episodes? I thought maybe they get like 12 or 13, but they only had 8 episodes. And like I said, I think what this turned out to be is easily their best season yet. I was very impressed with how this season turned out. I was honestly very surprised by just how satisfied I felt when everything wrapped up. And though not everything is perfect, I feel like this was the best possible note they could have ended this show on. And I was very, very pleased with how this final season went. But what did you think of this season overall?
Oh, I absolutely loved it. There honestly isn't really much I disliked about this,
Me too.
And can you hear me? Because it says the connection's unstable.
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay, good. Probably just StreamYard acting up. Anyway.
Yeah, your video is just kind of fuzzy. Like, you're fine, though.
Oh. Want me to restart?
No, you're good. It fixed itself.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, it does that.
Okay. Okay, is it good now?
Yeah.
Because now the Wi-Fi thing is not showing. Okay. Anyway, yeah. Overall, there wasn't really much I disliked about this season. I mean, not that I really there was only like 1-2 things I was kind of like iffy with, obviously, like which I'm pretty sure you can agree with me on.
Yeah.
Other than that, like I didn't really dislike anything. Like this season was like majority pretty flawless. Like just like the songs, like not just like the covers, but like also the originals, like they were just incredible. And there was like no bad song in my opinion.
We'll get into that, but yeah.
The acting, so good. And like I just love this cast so much. They all have such a great chemistry. But like, I adored this season.
Yeah, so we'll get into it right now. And like I said, full spoilers here. I think the best way to go about this, because there is so much going on, is we're going to go plot by plot, character by character, and kind of just go that way. I think the first thing I really want to talk about is, though we have a lot going on this season, I think what's so impressive about this final season is that it still feels very focused. This is probably the most focused season we've honestly had of this show. It feels like they do a really good job of remembering what this show is really about, and that is on these core characters. And, I talked about this in season 3, but I was worried that there was going to be a lot of characters populating the season. It was just going to feel a bit overstuffed. But I think it was really smart that though there are a lot of characters, we really only focus on like 5 main characters this season. And I thought that was definitely like the right decision because it makes the show feel so much more focused, and it feels like everyone had their own sort of perspectives this season. And I thought it worked really well overall. We really, though we have a lot of characters, it really is just Ricky, Gina, Ashlyn, Courtney, Carlos, and Miss Jen that are really the focus of this season. And I honestly think it's for the better, for the most part.
I will say, like, yeah, they're definitely like the main focuses for sure. But I also really like what they did with Emmy this season.
Yeah, we'll talk about her in a little bit. But yeah, she does have a bigger role this season, which I was happy about.
Oh, yeah. Because she didn't really have a huge role last season.
No, I remember last season, I was like, wait, who is this? Like, they didn't even show her enough.
Me too.
For me to, like, really invest in her. But I feel like this season they did a much better job with her. I want to go ahead, starting off talking about the performances, though. Yes. I think all the performances for this season are absolutely incredible. I think the show has always done really well in terms of acting. I think that it's had such a strong ensemble throughout. But I think this, honestly, every single actor, I think, gives their best performance to date in this show. Starting off with Joshua Bassett. I mean, my God, this season reminds me why I was so impressed by him in season 1. I feel like Ricky is a character that has been great, minus season 2. Wasn't a fan of what they did with him there. But I feel like here they really remember what works about this character. And I feel like he has his like meatiest material to date. Ricky goes through a lot this season. I feel like Bassett just really poured his heart and soul out this time around. And you can really see how affected he was by what was going on here. I thought he was just so incredible this time around. He's very likable in the role, but they also give him a lot of complexity here. And I was just very blown away by the performance he gave this season.
Oh, yeah, he was fantastic. Like, he's just an amazing lead. Yeah. And
he very much is like the main character of this season, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. Like, he's just always put his like heart and soul to this show, and he just has that like passion, and he's just so wholesome, like as a person too, like not just IRL, like in like IRL and in the show. Like, he's just such a wholesome person that you just want to like hug him. Mm-hmm. And like he just seems so sweet, and he absolutely killed it this season. His emotions, his heart, like passion, and even like comedy at times too. Like, all that was just fantastic.
Yeah, he was great. But I gotta say, for me, probably the standout of this entire season really should be no surprise because she's just been killing it more and more every single season. Sophia Wiley single-handedly steals this season for me. She is absolutely incredible here as Gina. I feel like this is a character that has gotten so much more interesting every single season. Last season, she was basically the main character. This time around, I think she functions very much as like a co-lead to Ricky, and she is just fantastic here. Gina goes through such a huge arc this season, really getting to see her like find her independence and kind of forge her own path. And my God, Wylie just killed it this time around. There's a monologue she had, especially in like the final episode, and I was literally near tears watching it. She just so much raw and just authentic emotion poured out into this character. I just really loved everything she did here. I thought she absolutely killed it this season.
Oh, she was phenomenal. Like, especially in the finale, like her monologue and like her emotions. Oh my God, that literally like made me emotional too.
Yeah, and I think that was actually like most of that was like not unscripted, but that was like a natural reaction, because I think from what Tim Federele said, they told them the show was ending like literally right before they filmed that scene. So like all of that was like actual emotion when they're all crying. Like, it was real.
My heart. Yeah, that was like fantastic, and definitely like one of the best scenes of the entire show. And it was just so heartfelt and like real. It was super genuine. Like, it wasn't like not forced at all. And like Sophia just absolutely killed it. She killed it last season. She killed it this season. She always kills it.
And she has
Like,
such a bright future ahead of her. Like, I feel like
oh
out of
yeah.
the entire cast, like, she's going to be like the rising star of this show. Like, I feel like in a couple years, just give it some time, Sophia Wiley is going to be a huge name in movies and television. Like, we're going to see her pop up in like a ton of stuff. And I think she has such a huge future as an actress. And this season really showcases that perfectly.
Oh yeah, I can definitely see her doing like more shows,
Yeah.
like maybe some like Netflix shows, Hulu, Apple TV Plus, like all that stuff. I can see her doing a bunch of different shows. I could see her like, and I could see her doing some more movies.
I feel like the arc that Gina has this season is eventually going to mirror like Sophia Wiley's actual life, and I feel like
I think so too. Honestly, like it's kind of like foreshadowing.
Kind of like what we got with Nene, where like it kind of foreshadowed Olivia Rodrigo being this huge pop sensation. I think it's going to be the same for Wylie. So,
oh, I agree. Like they're both super talented, and they deserve they both deserve the world. And like Sophia was just phenomenal this season, and I don't think she had any flaws at all.
No, she really didn't. But I got to say, I think the actor that got like the biggest upgrade for me this season, not to say she hasn't killed it in other seasons, but Dara Reneé is amazing this season as Courtney. I really like what they did with her in season 3, giving her this arc about, you know, her overcoming like her anxiety and things like that. I thought that was really good. But this is easily, I think, the best Courtney has ever been written. She really just kills it in terms of her performance this season. Courtney goes through a very significant arc of really just trying to find who she is and, you know, gain independence. And she just feels the most confident, the most fleshed out we've really ever seen this character. There's so many, it's such a multifaceted performance this season. And there's a lot that she really needs to deliver. She needs to deliver a Courtney that is like so much more confident within high school, but also a Courtney that's very like unsure of herself, like in college. And I just thought she killed every single second of it. I love the performance she gave here. She was easily one of the biggest standouts for me this season.
Absolutely. I literally thought she was like main character energy.
Oh, yeah.
Like she was literally giving like actual like Sharpay vibes, and
She really was.
She was so good and like so fun to watch. She was funny. She was just amazing. And like her arc, the whole show has just been incredible. Like started out as like within the anxiety, being more shy, that kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely.
And then like she's really like broke out of her shell, and so proud of her. And she just killed it in this season.
Yeah. Julia Lester, also always incredible. I've been a huge fan of her since season 1. I think season 2, though, was like really where she showed like her potential as an actress. And this season, the arc that Ashlyn has is just so clearly defined that you really just see how far that character has come as well. And I think that she has some really great stuff to do here. I really loved her performance. Very subtle, but a very effective one. And I thought she also really killed it as she usually does.
Oh, she's super talented, and like she's this big Broadway actress, but I think she's gonna be huge soon.
She already is. She got a Tony.
I mean,
she already is.
But yeah, but like hopefully I can see her even getting bigger.
Oh yeah, me too.
But because since like the show, like it really was kind of like her main like breakout role kind of thing. So yeah, she's just absolutely phenomenal. Like she always kills it with like songs and vocals, and she's just such a great actress, and she was wonderful. I loved her story, and like her scene with the very important one with Big Red. Oh, literally my heart. I love that scene so much. It was
one of the best scenes of the show.
It was so pure, so wholesome, and then their relationship was just with that like amazing.
Yeah, we'll talk about all of that. But I mean, really, everyone just is so incredible this season. Frankie Rodriguez always kills it as Carlos. He's so funny. He has so many hilarious lines this season, but I feel like he also goes down a pretty significant arc, and I really like what they did with him this season. Joe Serafani isn't in this season that much, but I think what he has, he gives like a really strong performance for sure. There's some actors here, like a Mac Cornett, like a Larry Saperstein, that don't have the most to do, but I feel like they get the most out of their roles for sure. And I think even if an actor didn't have like the most screen time, they still really killed it this season. I don't think anyone was like I don't think there was a single dud in terms of the actors here, but I gotta say, I mean, probably the best season for Kate Reinders as Miss Jen. I feel like that character has never felt so well defined as she does this season. And here's the thing, I always liked her in other seasons, but here she really just went all out here. You see a Miss Jen that is just so dedicated to what she's doing. She's trying to keep everybody together. She cares so much about her students, and you can see her kind of go down this arc this season of her being worried that, like, you know, the theater isn't being taken seriously, and just her smaller moments with like some of the kids and things like that are just so wonderful. She's by far the heart and soul of this entire show, and I just really love what they gave her this season. I think she's always killed it, but this season, I mean, she got a major upgrade, and I think this is probably her best performance to date.
Oh, she was fantastic. Like, I feel like the heart, like, from the season, I feel like the hearts of and soul of the show are definitely like her and Gina.
Yeah. And Ricky and Gina's relationship, which we'll get into.
Well, yeah, that too. But yeah, it's just like she was just fantastic, and like I didn't really know much about her before the show, actually. Like,
I knew her from Something Rotten. She was in that, and there was some songs she had from that, but like I didn't really know her in terms of like an actress until the show.
Yeah, but yeah, she's super talented, and she definitely deserves more recognition. And this season, she's absolutely killed it, and just so heartfelt, and just very emotional, and just her emotions, so good.
Yeah, it's so incredible. But you did point it out before, someone we absolutely need to shout out because she has a much bigger role this season, and I think just really kills it. Liamani Segura is so good as Emmy this season. And here's the thing, Emmy does not have the most significant arc. She very much is more just like the next generation of East High students. She has a lot of comedic moments, but I'm telling you right now, this girl's going to be a star. Like, there are videos of her on TikTok singing these like crazy songs at like only 14. She sings Almost Is Never Enough by Ariana Grande. I Have Nothing by Whitney Houston. It's just, I feel like she's about to blow up. Like, to give her a few years, she's going to blow up in a huge way. I think in the same way we discovered how incredible Olivia Rodrigo was, I feel like that's going to happen to Segura, and I think she just really kills it here. Emmy fits in so well to the ensemble. She's so much fun to watch, but she also has this, like, she has this huge personality, but she also has this really big heart and dedication for the theater. I loved everything about her performance this season. I think she was by far one of the big standouts.
Oh, definitely. She was hilarious. She was amazing. Like, yeah, she just has these like little funny one-liners that just kill me. And she's just so talented. She literally looks like a little Ariana, and like I could honestly see her being like an Ariana Grande in a few years too. Like how Ariana like really blew up after like Victorious. I can see her blowing up soon, like when she gets a couple of years older at least, and then like just really like just put out this album and just like be huge in the music world. But I hope she also gets more like acting roles too, because she is super talented, and like she's another one like Sophia who I think could be huge in a few years.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm so happy that she had a bigger role this season.
Yeah, for sure. I think the only other two actors.
Oh, also, hey, I actually like Crystal, the choreographer, Quinn, the director.
Oh my God. We'll get to Quinn in a little bit.
Yes.
I have a lot to say about that character for sure. But
yes,
other two actors I really want to talk about before we do get more into like spoilery stuff. There are two new characters that are introduced this season. I wasn't really sure how to feel about them when they were announced, but we have the characters of Danny and Mac. And I thought both of them were fantastic. Kylie Cantrall is very much, I think, trying to be like this Addison Rae type character where she's this like TikToker that everybody loves, and now she's becoming this actress, but she has like zero talent whatsoever, and she kind of has to like figure out more about that. And what did you think of her performance on the show? Because I thought she was a lot of fun.
Oh, she was so fun. Like, and then like in the first episode when she just breaks out into High School Musical, like the song, and with her like actual vocals, like, oh, she was fantastic. And I just thought she was really funny and really fun to watch. and she definitely like gave that TikTok girl vibe, like an Addison Rae, but like she was just fantastic, and I hope she's in more things because I don't think I've seen her in anything before.
She's a Disney Channel actress, that's why.
Yeah,
She was in a show called like Gabby Duran and the Unsittables, I think.
Oh wait, she's also in Raven's Home, which I've only seen little bits of.
Yeah, so she's like a full-on like Disney Channel star.
Also, The Descendants.
Okay, yeah, she's gonna be like the lead in that. Yeah, she is a really amazing singer, and I honestly think it's very hard. I've always said this; it's very hard to portray like not having talent, and I think that she really killed it this season. I was a big fan of her, but I gotta say, Matthew Sato, I think out of the two was like the big standout for me. I thought he was fantastic as Brady. He perfectly portrays this guy that like doesn't really understand how to he's trying to convert to serious acting, and you can tell that it's like a struggle for him, and he really only knows his life as like this sitcom actor on this show that like has gotten either reviled or people really love it. I thought he was a huge standout this season. I thought that he brought a lot of fun to the show for sure.
Oh yeah, he was really fun to watch too. And like his character is like supposed to be like such a dig, not a nice person, just very cocky. But he was so fun to watch, and he's another one who just definitely needs to be in more, you know, because like all these people like are just so talented, and he killed it.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Like, I mean, I feel like out of the two, he was definitely the bigger standout, but they're both amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible how much talent they've been able to find within this show, and like even adding actors throughout the seasons. Like, I don't think they've found a single actor that hasn't been on their absolute A game. And I think this is the perfect example of that. But I think we've said enough about the performances. Let's talk about the individual character arcs this season, because like I said, really we have 5 main characters here. Well, 6 if you include Miss Jen, who I do think has a pretty significant arc overall. But I think we should start off just by talking about Ricky, who I really think is the main character of this season for the most part. I think that, you know, while there's a lot going on, they really did a good job in focusing very much on him. And I really loved what they did with him this season. I've said it before. I think something the show has kind of always struggled with is any sort of negative behaviors that these characters take on. They've had a hard time kind of addressing like why that happens. And I think they really dive deep into that with Ricky this season. He is a senior. He's trying to have the best possible senior year. He's pursuing his relationship with Gina, but you can see that he is really the only person that when the movie is announced, he wants like basically nothing to do with it whatsoever. And I thought they did such a good job of giving him this arc of someone who he's always kind of had a difficulty like adhering to change. And I think this season really kind of dives deep into that, where like any sort of change he's kind of just afraid of. He goes into like full like self-destructive mode. And I just thought that his arc was so incredibly done this season, especially the episode where like he goes to visit EJ and he just like kind of finally lets out like all of the insecurities that he has and all the things he's worried about. I just felt like they really dive deep into everything I've always liked about this character. And I think this was like easily his best written season yet.
Oh, definitely. Like he was phenomenal, fantastic. Oh my God. Like he really had this like heart to it that was like super genuine. And like him not wanting to deal with the movie and like just wanted to just focus on senior year and his relationship with Gina, all that kind of thing. Oh, fantastic. And I think he was just amazing this season, and
he really was.
Definitely like he definitely was the lead for sure based on this arc. But I mean, obviously they all were leads, but like he definitely was probably like
front and center,
the main center. But he was just fantastic.
Yeah, which
I can't praise him enough.
Diving into that real quick. Going into the season, I mean, we knew that Gina and Ricky were going to be like a big like focal point of this, focusing a lot on their relationship. How do you feel about how they handled their overall relationship this season?
Of Ricky and Gina?
Yeah.
Oh, I love them so much. Like they're just so like wholesome. They're so sweet, and like they're just just their connection is just so like pure to watch. Like I honestly thought like he has chemistry with both Nene and Gina, just like throughout the season. Like I've always like kind of like both. Like I never really had like a preference. But yeah, like their relationship is just so like wholesome and just so sweet, just super genuine, and they just have like a really good chemistry with each other, and it's just like very real. And like I love their banters, and I really like their arc this season, in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel like I've said, I think when it comes to Ricky and Gina, there was a lot of hesitation of like, is this really going to work? Does it feel like the show's just kind of pivoting to them because they can't focus on him and Nene anymore? But I think they did everything they possibly could to really not just make this relationship feel so natural and authentic on its own and just really show the chemistry that these two actors have. Because I've always contended, I think while Joshua Bassett and Olivia Rodrigo obviously had great chemistry, I do think he has his best chemistry with Sophia Wiley. Like, go back to season 1, the Thanksgiving episode where like she's like opening up to him about like her family struggles. It's absolutely incredible. And like from that, this is one of the best at the time friendships in the entire show. And I kept saying like I thought these two were just going to be friends, but I gotta say I think they did everything they possibly could to sell you to sell these two as this incredible couple and really just see the struggles that they're both going through, but also see the similarities between the two of them. Like I love seeing how they both have kind of the same difficulties in terms of their relationships and kind of seeing like what they've learned through their relationships that haven't worked out, what Ricky learned from being with Nene and what Gina learned from being with EJ, and how they're kind of correcting that this season. I thought was so incredibly well handled. Really great arcs for the both of them where they both have a lot of issues with like commitment. They both have a lot of issues with like veering off in different directions. And I like seeing them throughout this season. You think there are points where because we've seen this happen to both of them before, they're going to go into self-destructive mode and they're going to start sabotaging their relationships. But I like that throughout the entire season, they actually do work it out and they recognize, what they've done wrong. And I thought it was so great for the both of them. So in my opinion, I mean, I don't think they could have done a better job of handling the relationship than they do this season.
Oh yeah. Their like relationship was just very like it was constructed very well this whole like season and like the whole series.
And it didn't feel rushed either. Like it felt very natural.
It did. Like very natural and just very real. And like they had such a great friendship like in the past seasons. And then now they're this really cute couple, which is like very natural in my opinion.
And I think especially like watching back this show, I think you can see like a very clear arc for these two where they start off as just these like kindred spirits of sorts who are going through very similar experiences, but they never really lose the connection that they have for each other. And I just thought they did a really great job of kind of showing that like they've planted the seeds throughout this entire show. This doesn't feel random. This is not one of those instances where like there were people that shipped these two together, so they brought them together. Like it feels like Ricky and Gina was always the end plan. And they did a really great job with that specifically. And I want to hear your thoughts on this. The episode where we find out a lot about things that happened before they all met in season 1. Reveal that basically Ricky is the reason that Gina's even involved with this. I thought was genius because it really shows that like at the end of the day, it's always been about the two of them. And the story has always kind of revolved around them. Like Gina is here because of Ricky, and Ricky, pursued, played the song that he did, which gave him that vested interest in theater because of Gina. And I thought that was just such a brilliant reveal. And it really felt like, they've planned this from the beginning. And I was just so incredibly satisfied with how they pulled off their whole arc this season.
Yeah, that was genius. Like he was like, go and sign up for the drama club so you can get Nene back kind of thing. Because I guess that maybe she was like very supportive of that back then.
Yeah.
So like, and then she joined too. So yeah, it was basically like they joined because of each other. But like At the start, it was more because just friendships and like and different stories, but like it was definitely a very brilliant and genius like move though that like it ends up that they end up getting together because of it, which is really cool. Like, and I thought it was really brilliant, and I thought it was just very well done on their part.
Yeah, and I love the reveal that like there was this hat and she like wrote this message like all the way back in season 1 being like, Ricky, I feel the same way, kind of showing that like she's always had these feelings for him. So again, it just felt so natural. It felt like they've always kind of felt this way for each other, but now they're at a point in their lives after dealing with 2 relationships that they were not at their best in. Now they can finally sort of resolve that by being together. I just thought it was really beautiful the way they handled it overall.
Yeah, because like he had Nene and Lily, and she had EJ.
And neither went well because of them. Like they're the reasons.
Yeah. Well, I will say I actually did like EJ and Gina a lot. Just like based on like personality wise and stuff. And then obviously I did think Ricky and Nene were cute too.
Yeah, but I think the show did a really good job of showing like here's why these relationships didn't work, and here's why Gina and Ricky do work. Because unlike Nene and Ricky, and unlike Gina and EJ, they're actually able to talk stuff through. They're actually able to recognize what they're doing wrong in their relationship, and rather than become self-destructive, they actually work through it. And I mean, everyone's talked about it. The kiss in the rain, especially when she is finally telling Ricky that like, hey, I told my mom about us, which is such a big moment for her. It's just incredible. Like everything they did with their relationship. I love this season. I thought it was so well handled.
Oh yeah. That on the kissing in the rain scene also gave me like just like teen drama vibes and like RCW vibes and things like and like and then also rom-com vibes.
Yeah, but it wasn't like cheesy either. Like it it worked for the scene. And I thought they did a good job with that. So their relationship I thought was just so well handled this season. We'll talk a little bit more. Amazing. We'll talk a little bit more about what happens with them in the finale, because trust me, we have a lot to say about the finale for sure. But I do want to pivot over to Gina for a second, who I think really had a very unexpected arc this time around. I was not expecting so much of this season to revolve around her relationship with her mother, and how her mother is so incredibly controlling and like trying to, pretty much revolve every aspect of her life. We've seen her mother before, but correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like this was the most we've ever seen her mother on the show. She is a huge antagonistic force this season. Gina very early on is contacted to star in this movie, and you can see that her mom is kind of trying to like get her to do that because she wants her to. She wants her to become this really big star. She doesn't want her to just, she doesn't want her to just be an East High and things like that. She's trying to force this relationship with like her and Mac and things like that. And I just really love the arc that Gina has this season of not only having the confidence to become like a full-on like movie star by the end, which I would not have expected for her at the beginning of the show, but it really works so well. Someone who started off always wanting to be the lead, but never really being able to fully pursue that, and kind of like scheming there to finally get to a place where she actually is the lead now. And she's now this like bona fide movie star, and she kind of ends the show there. I thought was like a really good arc for her, but I also really like the way they handled things with her and Mac. I was very worried they were going to go in like a love triangle direction with like them, and I'm glad that it never really went there. She is very much more of like this friend to Mac, and I really like the way they handled their whole dynamic for sure.
Oh yeah, like her storyline this season was just so fun and so good to watch, and her going like the route where she's like this movie star now, oh, so good.
Yeah,
like it was just such a great arc for her, and like dealing with her mother.
Yeah,
and like she was like not nice to her.
Oh, she's the worst. Until the end of this show. She becomes better at the end, but like most of the season, she's the worst.
Oh yeah, most of the season she's terrible to her and does not treat her right. And isn't supportive of certain things. And
I mean, she's supportive, but like for the wrong reasons. Like you can tell she wants to like kind of mold her into being this like big movie actress and like veer her away from like what's important.
Yeah, exactly. and then her being Gabriella, just like, ugh, she's the lead now, and she deserves it. Like, she killed it, and it was just amazing to watch, and like seeing her, like her growth and everything as a character and just as a person was just incredible to watch. And because like she's really overcome a lot throughout the show, so this just seeing her growth was just beautiful and stunning to watch.
Yeah, definitely. I thought that she had such a strong arc this season, and I really like the idea that like she gets this call to become, and it didn't feel far-fetched to me. Like it would make sense that Gina is contacted to become this big actress because, you know, how confident she is during that dance number and things like that, how she's able to pick up the choreography immediately. She's like the first person to call Quinn out and like kind of do her own thing. I just thought that her character was so well written this season. I really like the arc that she goes down where she kind of has to, she has to kind of choose between being an actress or being an HSM3, but I like that she kind of ends up doing both. I just thought everything they did with her was really well defined this season. I thought she had a really strong arc, and I really like the way they handled her storyline all around. I thought that they just did a really good job with that. So yeah, I thought Gina was very well written this season.
She was.
Yeah, so we've talked about the two main characters. Let's pivot over to, let's talk about Ashlyn first, because I think where they went with Ashlyn was kind of where I expected them to go with her. You know, last season, she had this really unexpected arc, but I think a very fitting one about her discovering her sexuality and coming to terms with the fact that she did have this crush on Val and learning a lot more about herself. And this season is all about resolving that and defining who she really is and figuring out, you know, how she's really able to move forward and like publicly talk about this. And I mean, my God, what they did for her this season, I thought was just incredible. What did you think of her overall dynamic with Maddox? Because for me, it was very unexpected, but I was surprised by how much I was like won over by it in the end.
Yeah, it was definitely very unexpected for sure. But like, since they would always be texting and just like being like very flirty, even I'm like, okay, yeah. I feel like something's gonna happen. Yeah, so it was very unexpected, but it was honestly like very sweet and just very wholesome, very natural, and just super cute and fun. And their dynamic is honestly really, really cute. Like I love it. And and her storyline has just like throughout the show, like her storyline's been getting so much better, like throughout every season.
Yeah, definitely. I really like what they did with her this season. I think her dynamic with Maddox, it made a lot of sense. Like Val was the person that was kind of like her like sexual awakening. But Maddox is the one who she feels this deep connection to, and they're honestly like, you know, they're kind of cut from a similar cloth, to where Maddox is someone who didn't really know who she was, didn't have a lot of friends and things like that, and she discovered a lot more about herself like through camp, and you know, became this like, you know, a much happier person and things like that. And Ashlyn is very much the same way, where like she has discovered a lot about herself, and you see how fulfilling that is. And my God, one of the best scenes of the show, when she comes out to Big Red, just the way they handled it, it was so sweet. Like I've said it in season 3, they pretty much knew each other were, you know, part of the LGBTQ community and things like that. And I was honestly surprised by how okay I was with them ending their relationship in the way that I was, because I think the way that they did it, it didn't feel like, well, now we just got to break these two up. It just kind of felt like, yes, they're always going to have this connection for each other. They're just not in love with each other anymore. They've learned a lot about each other, and it's helped them. But now they're like veering off in their own directions, but they're never going to lose that friendship. And I thought it was honestly very sweet the way they handled it overall.
Yeah. Like they used to be in love, but now they're like just going to stay best friends. But this like scene was probably one of the best of the entire season for sure.
Oh, yeah.
It was just so wholesome, and like they were both like, holy shit, like we're both part of the LGBTQ community. And it was just like very amazing to watch and just inspiring, and like it was just like amazing, such an amazing scene, and their connection will always be important, like they were in love, like in season 2 and everything, and part of 3, but like then things happened where they started liking someone else, and now they're just like staying best friends, which is still great because they still have that amazing relationship, just not like an actual like love relationship, you know?
I like that. I like that they get to a place, and I thought it was really good the way they explore, like, you can have a healthy breakup. It doesn't have to be destructive. It doesn't have to be toxic. They literally say in the show, it's the most beautiful breakup of all time, and it really is, because I think they've just both gotten to a place where it's like, we're always going to have that love for each other. We've learned a lot about each other through this, but we're just not in love with each other anymore.
Yeah.
I thought it made a lot of sense for those two to break up. I think we knew it was inevitable going into this season when they started showing and hinting of her and Maddox's connection that they were probably going to break up. But I thought the way they handled it was so well done. And I really like the way that turned out. And the actual arc of her opening up to Maddox and, you know, telling her how she feels, I just thought was so well done this season. I really loved her
amazing.
Throughout the entire thing. I thought they did a great job with her.
They sure did. Like Big Red and Ashlyn will always love each other, but just like as best friends.
Yeah, and honestly, like, out of all the new relationships, I honestly thought like Ashlyn and Maddox was the one I was the most satisfied with. I was like, this is so incredibly satisfying. They both get to a place where they can have this love for each other. I just thought it worked really well overall. So I was very impressed with
it's incredible.
Whole thing. And then, so Ashlyn's arc I thought was great. Let's talk about Courtney, who, like I said, I think gets a huge upgrade this season. I really loved her arc this time around, where the whole season she's kind of struggling about where she really wants to be after high school. You know, she has really become a lot more confident. She's now becoming Sharpay, and just the whole arc of her, you know, going from somebody who just wanted to be in costumes and didn't really want to act in any capacity in the show to now being this full on, like, very extroverted, very, you know, someone who always is trying to be like the star and things like that. And, you know, going out for the role of Sharpay and things like that, I thought was really great for Courtney. That alone was very satisfying. But the whole arc of her and her trying to figure out who she wants to be in college and her kind of struggling with, you know, which one she ends up picking. I mean, one of the best moments of the entire show for me is when she goes to that church and she's singing alongside all of them. And you can see it's her, you know, feeling so confident about herself, wanting to, you know, discover more about herself. I thought it was just a really great arc for Courtney all around. I loved what they did with her this season.
Oh, me too. Like, this is like a whole new Courtney with obviously similarities, of course, but like a whole new Courtney that, like, I love, because she's like confident and she's more outgoing, more extroverted, like not just like timid and stuff like she used to be, and nervous and things. So she's really like broken out of her shell, which is so proud of her. And her arc has just been incredible. She's trying to figure out what to do with like college and all that, and be Sharpay. Like I said, like I echo when I said she's literally like Sharpay kind of in this season. Well, not like
minus all the like selfish qualities.
Not the selfish qualities, but like just like certain things that like her passions and stuff. Makes me think she's very Sharpay. So I'm just so like happy, and I love her arc this season, and it was so good. Like, she's, like I said, she's definitely main character energy this season, and it was amazing because like obviously she's always always had a big role, but like this one was just a very standout role for her.
Yeah, I love how she's gone from just kind of like Nini's best friend, who was this activist of sorts, to a character that is like fully like she's this great character on her own now, and she can have this really great storyline of her like finding herself and, you know, discovering who she wants to be in college. Like, I love the moment towards the end of the season where she just casually says, like, yeah, this is where I want to be. And I think she chose Brown by the end of the show. And I thought it was just a really great moment for her. I thought all around she had a really good arc. The one thing I do want to hear your insight on is, what did you think of what they were trying to do with like her and Jet overall and them being in a potential relationship?
I actually think like it's adorable. Like, I know Jet has like a huge crush on her, and I'm like, could it work? Maybe not. I don't know. But like, I honestly thought it was just really wholesome, and like, it was just like such a fun storyline, and they definitely like have that connection too. So I feel like there are those people who are like, are they gonna get together or not? Like, are they just
Oh, we're gonna say
like they just, because like I'm like, are they gonna just like end up being best friends? Are they gonna get together? They have that kind of vibe, but like I honestly just think it's like so fun and so cute and just super wholesome and pure.
I think by the end they established that yes, they are probably going to try to get together and they are probably going to try to make a relationship work. I do want to address the elephant in the room that everyone's been talking about, and it's, even though like it's cute that they're together, should they be together? Because we don't really know what happened with Howie. I feel like
that's true.
I feel like, and this is something I don't think the show has done super well, to me at least, when Tim Federele talks about season 2, it comes across like he's not happy with how that season turned out. So I feel like like pivot away from those storylines as much as possible. And I feel like that's why we never saw Howie again. So it's kind of weird how that whole thing ended. But I think we are to assume like things did not work out between Courtney and Howie, because he's not even brought up this season.
Yeah, that's true. Like, it was definitely just kind of like forgotten about.
Yeah, I think it really was just like he wants to like not discuss season 2, which I don't really blame him, because season 2 was definitely like their most like problematic season in terms of like storylines.
And it was their COVID season too.
Yeah, it just didn't really work out in the way he wanted it to, so I don't really blame him. It's just a little bit, and I have seen people talk about this, and I will agree, it's just a little bit weird that like they never really came back to that. But what I like is that we don't end with Courtney and Jet together. We end with the possibility of them getting together. I love the moment at the end of the season where Gina's like, Jet, if you don't ask out Courtney, I'm going to be really upset. I thought that was a really fun moment. But I like to actually see them together. We can kind of infer that they get together, but their relationship is kind of like up in the air by the end of the show. And I thought it made sense to kind of do that, where it's like, you know, maybe they get together, maybe they don't, but you can see that they have a genuine connection. And I like that they didn't try to force their relationship this season.
I don't like, I like that. Like, I like that it wasn't forced. And it's like, like they're the, like I said, they're the relationship that's either like, are they going to get together or not? The kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. So, like I said, those are really our main arcs this season, aside from one, which I will get into when we get to really our only negatives for this season. And you'll see what I'm talking about when we get there. But I do want to talk about just a couple other things before we pivot over to some other stuff. Of course, the big elephant in the room, the thing that everyone's going to be excited about, is the whole idea of the High School Musical 4 movie. I was very excited to hear who they were bringing back, that like Monique Coleman was coming back and Bart Johnson and Allison Reed and things like that. But I was very worried, and I expressed this to you a lot, I remember, before this season, that like they were going to completely overshadow, and it was going to be like about them, and like if they brought them in too much, they were going to become like the focus of the show, and it was going to veer away from like our main characters. And that could have not been anywhere like that could not have been anywhere more on the contrary, because they basically are, aside from Allison Reed, extended cameos this season. They didn't really do a ton with those OG actors. And how did you feel about how that all played out? Because I feel like a lot of people are going to go into this season, and look, I can understand if someone's disappointed. I've seen people say they did not like this season because they feel like they were misled, and I completely understand that, because they don't play a huge role. But how did you feel about how they handled the whole thing with like the OG actors coming back, and how little we actually got from them overall?
Honestly, I kind of like what they did with it, because I feel like they actually were supposed to just be cameos, because and yes, they got a lot of promo, but like I think they just did that obviously so certain people would tune in if they've only seen the movies.
Yeah.
But like I also feel like they already knew, or they probably had a feeling that they were just going to be cameos because it's not exactly their show.
Yeah.
And like obviously I wish we could have gotten some like Zach, Vanessa, and Ashley and Olivia, but
the only thing I would have wanted to see more of is more Corbin Blue. I really liked his dynamic with all of them last season, and I thought he was going to serve as like sort of a mentor this season. He's really only in like 2 scenes, and then that's it.
Yeah, I liked this season. I liked him a lot last season, and I wish there was more for sure. But yeah, I definitely like wish we got like at least a little cameo or video with like Olivia and Zach, Vanessa, and Ashley. But I mean, it makes sense that they're just all too busy and stuff. But like I actually did like what they did with them. Like obviously the scene where Ryan is now out, which is amazing.
Yeah. And like when they did that, because it's like it finally puts to bed the like, is he supposed to be gay? Is he not supposed to be? Like they finally confirmed it. It was great.
It's amazing. It was just so inspiring. And he kissed his boyfriend, which is the guy from Pentatonics.
God, boy, yeah.
And like, so good and so amazing, and just my childhood heart. And then like I don't know, I definitely would have liked to see more with Corbin, but like I did really
one that I'm like a little bit like I wish they did a little bit more with them.
Yeah, but I mean I didn't think that I liked what they did though, what like the scenes they were in. But yeah, I definitely because I thought they were in like a good amount, honestly, but I do wish there was more with Corbin.
Yeah, I was expecting a lot more, to be honest. I thought that they were going to be like a huge part of this season, but I honestly was kind of fine with the way that they handled it. Where like Corbin's there to like introduce them to everything. We get a little bit of a resolution to like the documentary and how they're all kind of recovering from that and kind of seeing the aftermath of how that's affected all these different characters. I thought that was really good. But I like that they didn't play a huge role this season. I thought that it made sense to kind of do that because the focus is on these kids. I do think if the season was longer, they probably would have given them more to do, but it's not like they gave them nothing to do. Like the stuff they had with them was great. The scene with Monique Coleman talking to Courtney in the finale is fantastic. I love when she's talking to her.
Yes.
About, like, you know,
I love that scene so much.
Yeah. Kind of talking to her about like, there's a Taylor and there's a Monique. We're 2 different people and you need to find who you are. Like there's a Courtney in the show, but there's also a Courtney in real life. And you kind of need to find like yourself in that way. I thought it was a really effective scene. And I thought it was like the most meaningful way to get something from these actors, even though not all of them did. Like Lucas Grabeel really did not do much aside from what we mentioned with Ryan in that one scene.
Yeah, he didn't have much of a story besides that.
I did find it a little bit weird. We never came back to the like opening scene with like them filming High School Reunion and Ricky like freaking out on set. Like we never came back to that, which I thought was a little bit strange, but I feel like you can imply like what was really going on there. Ricky didn't want much to do with the movie anyway, so it made sense for them to go in that direction. But I do think they got as much as they could from these actors. The thing that surprised me the most though, and I think you'll agree, I don't think anyone would have expected that out of all the actors, Allison Reed is the one with the most screen time. Actually has a lot to do in the show. I was very surprised. I
was kind of here for it.
Yeah, I really like what they did with her because we really get to see Allison Reed and how she inspired. And I love the reveal that like she inspired Miss Jen to become a teacher. And like, she's the reason that like Wondering was a song and things like that. Cause she always wanted Miss Darbus to like have her own like power ballad and things like that. And her kind of giving her the confidence to pursue teaching, like though she wanted to go out for that lead role in Wicked, teaching is what's most important to her. She wants to make a difference in people's lives. I thought that was just such a great reveal, and it really just shows the importance that Allison Reed has on Miss Jen and the impact that she really had on her overall. It brings something so much more meaningful to that character, and I love what they did with her this season.
Oh yeah, I think so too. And like it just brings a whole new like Miss Darbus kind of.
Well, Allison Reed, not really Miss Darbus, but
yeah, Allison Reed. But like I'm
yeah.
just like I think it's just really like
Yeah.
her art and her story was just inspiring and like it with the stuff with Miss Jen and like just so wholesome and like it was just so heartfelt and like heartwarming how she inspired her and like I really enjoyed her storyline a lot.
Yeah, me too. I was very surprised with how much we got from her.
Same. I was like very like shook. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, they're giving her a lot to do, but
I never would have expected her to get the most airtime.
Yeah, that was very like surprising me. Bart Johnson, I think, had the most compared to her, which was also interesting.
It was, but he's always been iconic.
Oh yeah, he's great. I love the moments in episode 1 where he's like bopping along to like Danny singing. I love that so much. But
that was so funny.
Yeah, probably though one of the highlights of this season for me in regards to the whole High School Musical 4 movie, the character of Quinn, I think is phenomenal. I love her so much this season.
Same.
Mainly because like it is such a great sort of satire of how many legacy sequels come out these days, and they're helmed by people who know nothing about the source material, flat out don't care about the source material, and just kind of do their own thing. And I love seeing someone who is just like so disgruntled by the trilogy. She wants nothing to do with High School Musical whatsoever. She doesn't care about these characters. I love her whole running gag of like her just absolutely detesting this Miss Darbus monologue and her wanting nothing to do with it. Like when she takes the headphones off when she's like giving her monologue, I was like dying of laughter when that happened. What did you think of the character of Quinn overall?
Oh, I think she's so funny. She was such a great addition to this. Like she's so direct, so blunt. And like she's so unfiltered. She literally just says anything. And she was just she was just so good to have on this season. And I'm so glad they brought her because I just thought she just killed me.
Yeah, I love like moments where, and again, I thought the satire was just so good with her, where it's like, kind of making fun of this director that wants to change so much about the original source material. Like the third act when she wants to randomly have like Miss Darbus having like a terminal illness and things like that, and her being like, we're workshopping through that. We're not sure if that's like a good idea. I thought that was like a really funny moment for her.
Oh yeah,
how little she cares about the High School Musical property. I've seen people say the show is trying to make like a mockery out of High School Musical. I don't think that's what they're doing. I think this is very much supposed to be like, again, satirizing all these legacy sequels that come out, and they're helmed by people who just know nothing about like the original source material. And I think that's really what they were trying to get out of Quinn. It honestly is very daring for a Disney property to do that, because very frequently Disney is having people come in that know nothing about what they're taking on in terms of like the IP. And I feel like this is kind of a fuck you to them in that way, and I was kind of here for it. I thought it was very funny the way that they did it. I don't know if you picked up on it, but in the last episode of the show, she says the final cut for High School Musical 4 was like 300 minutes long or something like that. It was like over 4 hours. Like,
that was hilarious.
Yeah, she's like, the final cut is going to be over 4 hours long. I promise you every minute of it is worth it. I just thought it was so great the way they brought her in. I thought she was such a fun addition. She made so much of the season for me. Every time they cut back to her, I just got such a laugh out of her. I thought she was so great this entire season.
Yeah, she was so good. Like, she was just so like entertaining to watch and so enjoyable and like, like hopefully if they eventually come back, like just bring her back too. Like, she's so good.
I'm sure they would, because she's gonna be like Gina's like director for like the Romeo and Juliet film.
Yeah.
Which I like. I also like the arc of Gina being the only one to kind of like put her in check. Like she's the only one that's able to kind of get something she wants out of Quinn. I thought that was like really good overall. So
Gina can actually like get like literally like get into her, you know.
Yeah, I was a huge fan of her. I do want to harken back to this comment. Yeah, Crystal was great too. I love that she was this choreographer that like had very like specific choreography and was so strict that she literally cut Emmy out of the movie, which is like, fuck you for that. But then I also love that Gina like picked up on the combination like immediately. And we saw like, again, just seeing, and that's a great example of like what Miss Jen has done for these students, that they're so dedicated to their craft. They can pick up on such a complicated dance routine like in a second. I thought that was just so great.
So good.
Yeah. And then I think the only other characters I really want to talk about before we talk about some of the more smaller things this season that I really liked, the new characters of Mac and Danny. We already talked about their performances, but I really liked their arcs for this season, specifically for the character of Mac. I thought it worked really well. I thought his whole character of him being this sitcom star who's in a show that he's kind of embarrassed by, and he kind of wants to like break out into more serious acting, I thought was really well done. They didn't do what I thought they were going to do with him, where, like I said, I thought he was going to be like a love interest, like he was going to be in this love triangle with like Gina and Ricky. But I liked that from the beginning, she doesn't want this at all. Like, she wants to be a friend to him. She wants to help him, but she doesn't want to be in this relation with him. He wants them to be in like this fake relationship for like the press and things like that. What did you think of Mac as a character?
Oh my gosh. He was very enjoyable and very entertaining to watch too, but he's such like a dick.
Yeah,
like,
he is.
So he's just like so cocky, so conceited. But like as a character as a whole, he was super fun to watch though. And he was another great.
He always calls Ricky Wow Boy.
Oh yeah, that's so funny. But yeah, he's another great addition for sure. And like I think he's got a big future ahead of him too. And oh my god, his story was just so funny.
Yeah, and I like where they end him this season, where like he recognizes that like, no, I actually did like the sitcom that I was working on. In fact, I kind of want to like go back to that at some point and like revisit it. And he wants to make like a revival of the show with like the talking dog and things like that. I thought it was a really good place to actually end that character, where it's like, yes, he wants to break out into more serious acting, but he's kind of like found his niche as like this sitcom star. And I thought it was really good for what they did with him.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Now, I will say, as much as I enjoyed the character of Danny, I feel like this is one of the only instances this season, besides a couple other things, where it just felt like they tried to do a little bit too much with her, and it just didn't feel like it fit as naturally into the season as they could have. They start off and there's this arc with her like wanting to know more about Ricky. She wants to kind of take the part away from Gina. But he like very quickly, like, you know, tries to pivot away from that. And then it just feels like they don't really do a lot with her until the last two episodes, when she's randomly Tiara Gold and she finds her passion and she wants to enroll at East High. I liked this character. I just felt like there was a lot more they could have done with her. And she's really one of the only instances this season where I'm like, I'm not totally satisfied with how they wrapped up with her overall.
Yeah, like I did think she was like such a fun character for sure, and she did have a good story too. But yeah, I kind of echo you there. That just sometimes her story was just a little iffy and little hit or miss.
Yeah, I think they could have done a better job with her. Like the moment at the end of this season that I did like the end of the season when she's like, I want to enroll at East High, but I just feel like we could have seen more with her. And I feel like if they had more episodes this season, I think that she would have felt a little bit more satisfying. Like it's like a better version of Lily, where it's like, at least they knew how to end things with her and they didn't just drop her immediately. But similar to Lily, I feel like Danny was supposed to play a larger role this season than she ultimately did. And I just felt like she kind of got the short end of the stick. So she was really one of the only characters.
Yeah, she was just like, she had such a great role, but she also, I felt like she was kind of an afterthought at times too.
Yeah, just she was really the only character I wasn't like completely satisfied by.
Yeah, same. Because like, it was definitely not very satisfying because sometimes where she just didn't really have much of a story like the others did. Like she did, but not like this huge role. It was just like she was just like very back. She was like she had such like a background role.
Yeah.
And so I wish we got to see more of her and maybe learn more about it.
Emmy is another character where I feel like if the show was going to continue, they probably would have focused on her a lot more than they did, because she very much is just kind of serving of like, she's the next generation. They're all like inspired by her. She like cares so much about the musical more than most people do. There's even a moment in episode 6 where they say like she was the only person to show up for like the rehearsal and things like that. And I really liked her inclusion on the show. I like the bond she forms with Miss Jen a lot. I thought it was very pure and sweet. Especially in like the last couple episodes, her now being like her like assistant and things like that. But Emmy's another character that I just wish they did a little bit more with this season, because where they end her, it just feels like there was more room for that character. And I feel like they could have done just a little bit more with her overall.
I agree. Like she definitely had like a bigger story than season 3, but like I do wish we got to see more of her, like maybe learn more about like her personally. And like she did, I really loved her role, of course. It's just I wish we got to see a little more, because her and Danny are just like ones that were just like kind of tossed to the side at times.
Yeah, it feels like to me, if they were to have continued the show, they would have been like very prominent characters like in the next season for sure. But I mean, maybe one day they'll go back to it, but we'll see. As far as the characters like EJ and Mr. Mazzara and like Big Red and Jet and Maddox, like I said, they don't play as big of a role this season. Well, Jet and Maddox do. But what I liked about Jet and Maddox is it kind of feels like they kind of resolved all of their conflicts in season 3, where like now they literally say by the end of the season, like, we're each other's best friends. Like they have like a much.
That was a very wholesome moment for sure.
Yeah, and honestly, I was kind of fine with it. Like, you kind of infer that, like, they've been able to work through a lot of the emotional baggage that they had in season 3, and I was honestly kind of fine with where they decided to end them.
I like that,
people complain about EJ having a lot of off-screen development, but I thought it worked. I like that he has gone to college, and the scene where he's talking to Ricky about how it's like he's ventured off to college and he's more content with himself. He's kind of like decided to stop calling his dad. He stood up to him because of the fact that like his dad just like didn't want to talk to him at all. I thought EJ had some really good moments this season. No, he's not in this season as much, but I feel like that character has come such a long way that I like the idea that he is just kind of content with where he is, still missing those East High days, but he's been able to find himself and is now in a much happier place than he was at the start of the show. I thought it was a good in that character.
EJ's like EJ's another character that like grew so much throughout the show. And like I will say, the scene with him and Ricky at the college was so wholesome. I love that scene so much, and it was just inspiring and incredible. And
especially where he's giving him tough love. It's like one of the best scenes in the entire show.
Oh yeah, it's definitely like one of the best scenes for sure. And I love the tough love part so much.
Yeah, definitely. I thought all around, they did some really good stuff with that character. Even Mr. Mazzara, I was unsure at first. I was like, does he really need to be in this season? What more do we really need to do with him? But I really liked what they did with him, where one, he feels a much bigger connection to all of these characters. He feels like this, it's sort of like this mentor of sorts, which is such a huge development from where he was in season 1 to where he wanted nothing to do with the arts whatsoever to now basically helping them out to save the show. I thought was like really good to see. But then I also really like this reveal that he was the way he was because he was in this boy band and they like started this tour like without him. It's like, it's such a funny revelation, but it gives a lot more context to why he was so like upset about the arts and what was really going on with him. Like you could see now this has like a personal effect on him. So I actually thought they did a lot of great work with him overall.
I did too. I like that too. Like his story, like he's never been like the main lead, but like he's definitely always been a great character. And this season I actually really liked the route they went with him. He didn't really need to be like a lead. He I think what they did with him was honestly a perfect amount, in my opinion.
He's the guidance counselor now, which I thought also worked.
Yeah, he's the guidance counselor, and he like actually has this connection with everybody, which was just very sweet.
Yeah, and I mean, there is definitely like an unresolved plot point with him and Ricky, with him telling Ricky like he needs to like keep his grades up and things like that.
Yeah.
But I feel like they do a good job of showing like Ricky's at a place where I think he is going to be able to like keep his grades up. So I don't think that's something that like they completely left unresolved. And I like what they did overall with his character. So yeah, I mean, I was very impressed by the majority of arcs we get this season. The only thing that didn't really work, and this is the only storyline we have not commented on this season. If you've noticed, we've talked about all the central characters in the show. The only person we haven't talked about is Carlos. And look, I love Carlos a lot. I think him and Seb's relationship is very pure, possibly the purest relationship of the entire show. I just really love seeing how much it's evolved throughout the season. That being said, I was not a fan of what they did with him at all this season. I did not really like their arc very much. I understand, first of all, like I understand that they needed something, you know, they've had this tension between Carlos and Seb, but I feel like a lot of it should have been like things that they thought were going on and weren't actually going on. Because to me, I don't know about you, it just really felt like they did not know what to do with Carlos this season. So they put him in like the most like forced storyline whatsoever. And I was just not a fan of it at all. And yeah, I was not a fan of how this turned out. The whole season, Carlos is unsure why Seb isn't talking to him. Seb is involved with the music, with like the movie. He's like, his like business is like co-partnering with them. That I was fine with. I was even fine with Seb like distancing himself from Carlos because he thought maybe Carlos cheated on him from the documentary. I was fine with that. Up until we find out that Seb was actually the one that cheated on Carlos. And not only did he cheat on Carlos, but he cheated on Carlos with Big Red. And this was like Big Red's like sexual awakening. I just like, I was not down for this at all. I thought this was, and here's the thing. I understand you need conflict in the show. I totally get that. I understand that, you know, you can't just have every couple just like be happy. But this just felt so forced to me. It's like they needed drama between these two characters. And I just did not buy into this at all. First of all, I don't believe that Seb would cheat on Carlos. He seems so like devoted to their relationship. It just didn't really work. Two, just they resolve it so quickly. Like after it happens, it just feels like they should not have done this at all. Like I didn't understand the point of this storyline whatsoever.
No, I didn't either. That was like the only storyline this season I didn't really like at all.
Yeah.
Like love Carlos and Seb. Like they're they're so pure and wholesome, like as a ship. And like as a couple, they're just so adorable. And like I've always loved them.
Yeah.
Yeah, this season is just like, why? Like this makes no sense.
Yeah, it's just very out of character for Seb, but also very out of character for Big Red. I don't feel like either of them would actually do this. And yes, it's only a kiss, and they say like, oh, it was like a one-time thing and things like that. But just the whole idea of it, it's just very unbelievable. And also, as much as I love the scene between Ashlyn and Big Red,
very out of character.
Yeah. And as much as I love the scene between Ashlyn and Big Red, the way that his like whole bi-awakening was basically through kissing Seb, I'm just not a big fan of that. I feel like what they should have done with him was either he was at camp and like he liked another guy and he felt an attraction towards him, or what I thought actually would have been even more meaningful is he met somebody at camp who was bi, kind of heard about his story, and it kind of made him realize, oh my God, I feel the same way. And that's how he realized that he was bi. I thought that would have been a lot more meaningful than, oh, Seb and I kissed at the movies. Like, I just wasn't a fan of that at all.
Me neither. And it was just, no, it just didn't work. It didn't work at all. And it didn't work for me either. It's like,
I feel like they knew it didn't work because they ended almost immediately. Like they ended through, and let me just say, Over You is one of my favorite songs of the entire show. I think it's such a powerful duet between the two of them. I've been listening to it constantly. I just hate that the context of it is such a messily handled storyline that just, it seemed like they didn't even know how to resolve it. So they just resolved it immediately. Carlos forgives Seb through like this duet of sorts. Not a fan of this storyline at all. It just really did not work. Like, I love these characters, but this is the only thing I feel like, one, if they were going to do this, they needed more episodes. Two, they just really needed to rethink what the conflict needs to be between these two.
Yeah, they did. It was just so underwritten, and it just was not done well at all with their storyline. So it's like, no, that was the only thing that like made no sense to me.
Yeah, so that really just didn't end up working at all. And what sucks is, like, I think they actually have a really good storyline towards the end of this season where Seb talks about how, like, his dad's never been attendance for any of their performances. And, you know, he wants to fully, like, he wants to finally, like, come out to him and things like that. In the moment where, like, he kisses Carlos during A Night to Remember, it's such an incredible moment. And it's just, like, that whole storyline was so unnecessary. Like, this should have been the storyline all season where it's like Seb is kind of being distant from Carlos and then he opens up about this. I thought that would have been so much more impactful than what they ended up doing.
Yeah, that would have been so much better and more effective, and just that would make way more sense.
Or, you know what they also could have done, and I saw someone say this and I agree, what they could have done is maybe Seb is upset that, like, he doesn't have a role in the musical this season, and, like, he's kind of jealous of Carlos for it, and he holds a lot of resentment towards him still, like, being in the musical because of it. Like, I feel like they could have done something like that, and I think that would have worked a lot better than this cheating storyline that just didn't make any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, that was just... Yeah, that was just yikes.
Yeah, it just didn't really work at all. But before we do get into the finale,
it was just one that didn't make any sense. Didn't make any sense either.
Yeah, I think the only other thing left to talk about before we get into the finale and just how well they wrapped up the show, talking about the musical numbers this season. I mean, for me, this is easily the best season for musical numbers. I generally don't think there was a single one that by the end I disliked. And this is really the only season I can say that for. There's always been like one or two songs I don't love. And that's not the case for me this season. I think every single musical number was a winner this season, whether it's,
it's so good.
Yeah, whether it's this great duet between Gina and Ricky, maybe this time, which is one of my favorite love duets throughout the entire show. Whether it's, I already talked about Over You from Carlos and Seb. Love that song so much. I love that they finally got a duet of their own as well. I just hate, again, the context of it, but I love that they got their own like duet. You know, I love Ashlyn's song with Maddox, Call It What You Want. It's a really great moment where she's kind of like confessing her love to her. I thought that was really great. You know, I love the song that EJ and Ricky have, Speak Out, where he's kind of like talking about this song he wrote about like his dad and things like that. I thought that was a really great one. Dreams Don't Die. Emmy's song was amazing, I thought. And like I said, Liamani Segura is going to be such a big star. Maybe the most underrated though for me that I just don't see enough people talking about. Nightmares Come to Life. I love a lot. I thought it was...
Oh, I love that one so much.
Because here's the thing. It doesn't sound like any other song this show has done before, but I really like it. It's like we get to see these characters and all these different, you know, anxieties like manifesting in the form of zombies. I thought it was a really fun idea, the way they handled that. And I just really liked it a lot. And I thought overall, I thought overall, all the musical numbers this season were fantastic.
Oh, all the musical numbers were like killer. They were like, so they were either bangers or they were inspiring. They were just
what were some of your favorites this season?
My favorite,
in terms of like the original songs.
Original songs, I really love Maybe This Time.
Oh yeah.
And I love Call It What You Want.
Yeah, that's a great one.
I love the Taylor Swift version of that too, or the Taylor Swift song that's also with that title.
Yes, but it has nothing to do with that. But yes, I did see people say that they thought it was going to be a cover of that at first, and then they were like, no, this is something completely different.
No, it's very different.
Yeah.
I also really love Speak Out.
Oh my god, yeah, that's a great one.
That one is so good, and
yeah,
those are probably like my favorites, but I do love them all so much. And then like for covers, I love like High School Musical, the title track.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that. What I thought was really interesting about this season compared to the others is that something I've wanted them to do for a long time. And I remember like season 2, this was a big complaint of mine. They wasted a lot of the songs like early on in the season. So like when it came to the actual performance, like we didn't really get to see much. This season is the complete opposite. We don't get almost any covers of High School Musical 3 songs until the actual performance. And I like that a lot because it really felt like we got to see so much more of the actual production they were working on. And I thought that was a really great idea. I mean, we do get to see Can I Have This Dance, but virtually every other song they waited until the finale for. And I like that a lot, actually.
Yeah, I really like that too. It was like a great touch and it was just such a great idea. And it just made it seem more special, in my opinion.
Yeah, it made the musical feel so much more eventful because we got to see so much more of it. Like, and it's not like we haven't in other seasons. Like season 1, they showed what they needed to, but this is the most we have ever seen of one of their productions. And I just feel like they really just went all out here. I mean, we see
they went all out. They just like put on a show.
Yeah, I was surprised how much we saw, honestly. Like they go all the way, we see everything from Now or Never all the way to like even stuff like Walk Away and Right Here, Right Now, The Boys Are Back. Like we really get to see almost every single song. And I just really love the way that they handled it. And though I will say, some of them are not the greatest. Scream in particular, I was not big on. That's like my favorite High School Musical song, and I don't think Joshua Bassett has the vocals that Zac Efron does. But you know what?
I didn't hate it. Like he definitely did a good job, but it definitely wasn't as strong as Zach's.
It wasn't fiery and like angry enough. Like that's the thing with that one.
Ricky's just too nice.
But the thing that I kind of realized, and I thought what actually made it work, is that I feel like this is the most it has felt like a high school production. Like this, they're not trying to make it feel extravagant. They're not trying to make it feel like really big, and like it still feels big, but this feels like a high school production. And I thought they did a really good job with that. It felt very like authentic. I love seeing like, for example, the background actors actually get to have like some lines and things like that. I thought it was just really good what they did with the High School Musical 3 performances all around. I thought they did a really great job with that. So yeah, the musical numbers, fantastic this season, all the way to the final song, Love You Forever, which is like, I think the perfect way to close this show out with that and Born to Be Brave. I thought they did a really great job with, but with all that said, I think we've talked as much as we can about everything.
Oh yeah, Born to Be Brave. Like I love that was the title of the finale and how they ended it with that too.
Yeah, and that's kind of like the anthem of the show. Like that's we're all in this together, basically.
Yeah.
Which
they are all in this together, but they're like Born to Be Brave. They're like overcoming growth, all that stuff.
Yeah,
I will say, it would have been like really wholesome to have Olivia come out and perform that too.
Yeah, let's talk about that real quick, because I remember we were talking about a lot before the season. I know you thought Olivia was going to show up, but I said that's never going to happen. It's going to be impossible to get her. We do not get her in this show. What did you think of the fact that they weren't able to get Nene here?
I mean, it makes sense. Like she's just too busy and everything, and it wouldn't really make sense with the story. But it would have been wholesome just to have her at least make a little cameo, or at least like maybe a video or something.
Yeah,
but it definitely makes sense. I just because like Born to Be Brave especially was like her and Courtney's song, so that just would have been like really pure.
Yeah, my thing is like I understand that, I understand why they couldn't get her. It would have been cool to see her for like just like a random scene in the finale. But I kind of agree with what Tim Federele said, that like I feel like it would have felt very much just like, oh, here's a cameo. Like it just wouldn't feel as natural. And I feel like every character they brought back, even Antoine, who we'll talk about, felt natural, felt like they were able to fit them into the episode, and it didn't feel like they were overstuffing it with like too many characters. Everyone they brought back this season, it made sense to bring them back. Whereas if they brought NeNe back, it would just kind of feel like she's here because she's Olivia Rodrigo, and we didn't want her to not be here. So I feel like it just would have felt a bit too tacked on for me.
Yeah, I feel like if she wasn't as busy, she could have had a bigger role, but it makes sense that she wasn't back for season 4.
Yeah, I mean, they do mention her. It's not like they don't mention her in the show. Like, Ricky talks about his relationship with NeNe, and other characters talk about, like, their friendship with her and things like that. So it's not like they don't.
I feel like Ricky will always have those feelings because it was his first love.
Yeah, definitely. And I think he honestly feels worse, like, how he handled that relationship, considering, like, you know, his whole moment with, like, EJ and things like that. So it's not like they don't mention NeNe, but I wasn't too surprised to see Olivia Rodrigo was not in this season at all. It would have been really fun together, I feel like. With that
and said, I also know, I remember when we were talking about, like, when they're jumping at the end of High School Musical.
I was going to mention that real quick. Really stupid nitpick I have. Not a big deal. Really not. But, like, the only other issue I would say with this season for me, and it's a very small nitpick, when they are jumping in High School Musical, like when they're doing the song at the end, why is Emmy and Jet not there? Like, I understand that, like, Ashlyn and Gina and Courtney and Ricky and Carlos are, like, the main characters of this show, so they wanted them all to be in the shot together. But, like, in the context of High School Musical, Chad and, you know, Emmy and Jet are not just playing, like, you know, girl number 1 and guy number 2. Like, they're literally playing Chad and Taylor. And, like, Ashlyn's playing Kelsey, who, like, yes, is big, but, like, she's not supposed to be there for the jumps. Like, the fact that Emmy and Jet weren't there.
Yeah, literally.
It's just a little thing that I'm like, I don't understand why they didn't get them there. Like, it just.
I know, I'm kind of the same way there because, like, the jumps are supposed to be the 6 leads. It's Troy, Gabriella, Sharpay, Ryan, Chad, and Taylor.
Yeah, I would have liked to see a little bit more of Emmy playing Taylor, because, like, we heard about it, and she has that scene where she talks to Miss Jen, and she's like, am I doing a good job so far? And Miss Jen's like, Monique Coleman will be proud, but we didn't get to see, like, anything from her playing Taylor.
Yeah, it was another, like, afterthought with her.
Yeah, definitely. With that said, though,
also I will say there's another thing. I wish we got to see more of the, like, friendship between, like, Ricky and Big Red, because, like, they used to be best friends.
Well, I think they did a good enough job with that in the finale, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But I agree with you on that until a really good scene between them in the finale. Which, with that being said, let's get into the finale, because I think there was a lot that we were really excited for. There was a lot riding out on this finale for sure. I thought they did a really good job, though, of getting us to this point. The episode before it, where, like I said, it's all about seeing how they all kind of got each other into the musical and things like that, with Ashlyn recruiting Courtney to, like, do the costumes and things like that, which is how Courtney became a part of it. I thought that was very effective. You know, the little moments like that worked really well. I also forgot to mention one of the, I think, funniest moments of the season for me, I think, was when we find out that Seb had a relationship with Natalie. I thought that was just such a funny reveal. Kind of came out of nowhere, but, like, I really enjoyed that a lot. Oh, hold on.
Okay, I'm back. I was just, like, so like, whenever Kevin was talking, it was all scratchy, which oh my god, StreamYard. You gotta love StreamYard, don't you?
That was horrible. Jesus, I just listened back to that. Am I better now?
No.
I'm not.
Talk.
Hello?
Yeah, you're still scratchy. Maybe restart.
Let me see. What can I do here?
I left chat first because I thought it was, I didn't know if it was just my computer.
No, it's not. I watched the video back. It was very scratchy. I guess I'll be back.
Okay. He can just re-say what he was all the stuff he was talking about. Oh my god. Like, Jesus. StreamYard loves to mess up. I don't know why. Like, either my connection goes out and I have to restart, or he does, like his connection, or oh my god, I don't like, it's so weird. But yeah, he'll continue and like say what he was talking about when he restarts, and everything will be good. Hello. I think you'll be back.
Hello? Is it better now?
Yeah. Okay, now you can say what you were saying. Because that was
oh my god, that was annoying.
It sounded so weird. It sounded like you were like fast forwarding your voice. It sounded like you were fast forwarding your voice.
Yeah, that was weird. Yeah, that was really weird. Sorry about that. But anyway, we're going to get back on track here. I was talking about how one of the moments that I really loved before we do get into the finale that I thought they really just kind of laid out the breadcrumbs very well for is, again, that episode where we kind of get to see how everyone joined East High, seeing like the moment between like Ashlyn and Courtney being friends. I thought was very effective. And yes, it's something like I think they could have put in the first episode, but it kind of felt like the better version of Glee's 2009 episode, where it's like it's stuff that we didn't get to see before, but it adds so much context to these characters. And I actually like that a lot. What they did with that, the revelation that Seb dated Natalie, I thought also was very funny the way they handled it, and it didn't feel
that
like
was
a random
so funny.
thing to
I love that. That was hilarious.
Yeah. I thought that was a really fun moment. And again, I thought they did a good job of getting us to this point where really the last two episodes, I feel like, is just one really long finale is like the best way to sum it up, because it really does kind of feel like you could kind of watch it as that. But I mean, just from the beginning, smaller moments like Ricky finally telling off Gina's mom was so satisfying, where he's like, you've never been to either of her opening nights and things like that. And really just like calling her out on her shit was so good to watch. The way that she treated him all season long, like he wasn't important, like he wasn't good for her daughter. I just love seeing him like finally just like tell her off and things like that. I thought that was great. And that was like one of my favorites.
The part with Ricky telling off her mom was so good. It was like, I was like, yes, King, do it.
Yeah, it's a very satisfying moment for him. But even like one of the smaller moments for me that really stuck out for Ricky is when he's telling Miss Jen that he loves her. And you understand why he's doing this, because he wants to finally show. He's always had a hard time like expressing his feelings for people. And I like that he's like, you know, I want to start saying it more often. So I need to start with like people I care about. And I thought that was such a beautiful moment when he told her that.
It was so beautiful, and also just like they're very like brilliant too. It's just like genius writing.
Yeah, and like the whole finale, while they're doing this musical, it's all revolved around Ricky kind of struggling to like say I love you to Gina, because he you know, she's always been the first person to say it, and you know, she's worried that he's not going to. And I thought that arc worked really well for the both of them, getting them both to a place where they're able to show their love for each other. They're able to express it in a way they haven't been able to in other relationships, and it just feels like such a natural place to end both of these characters. And I really liked what they did with their whole end of their arc for their relationship, but also the end for their characters this season overall.
Oh, I agree. It was just like so like satisfying way to end the show for sure, and like their characters.
Yeah, and there's so many like smaller moments in this finale that I just really love, like getting to see Ricky and Gina and EJ talk one last time, and them kind of apologizing to each other for their relationship, but also realizing.
Yeah, the EJ and Gina moment. I'm like, at first I'm thinking like, are they gonna like kiss or get back together, or
no, I didn't think they were doing that.
But like their scene was so like wholesome, and it was just like such a beautiful moment, and I'm so happy with that. It was so satisfying.
Yeah, I love when like she's like, I came here to apologize, and he's like, you don't really need to. Like, he's kind of recognized like why they had to break up, and I thought that was like a really great moment between the two of them. I already talked about how much I love the storyline with Seb and Carlos, where Seb basically just goes ahead and kisses Carlos during A Night to Remember, and his dad like basically said like, I always knew you were gay and things like that. Like it was such a beautiful scene for the both of them, and it just sucks that like we had that really stupid storyline, because this is just such a great moment for them. So effective.
That was such a like and wholesome and just very important moment, and I'm so happy for that, because I'm so happy they finally ended up together again, and like they can move past what happened and just move on, get back to their pure selves, and that was just so inspiring.
Yeah, it was a really great moment to see, because like Carlos gets them like tickets to like this cruise of sorts, and you can see that Seb's like kind of like he's not that happy about it, and we kind of find out why. And again, I just feel like this should have been their arc the entire season, like just kind of have Seb being distant from Carlos, and then him finally admitting like what happened. I think would have been far more satisfying than what we got throughout the rest of the season. So I really like this a lot. I thought it was a very good arc to them. And then some of the other really good character moments for me, you brought up Big Red, and I agreed with you. I feel like this show, the last two seasons have not capitalized on their friendship enough, but I think they really made up for that in this final episode, where Big Red talks to Ricky and he tells him, no, you're great at what you do, and you need to stop being so hard on yourself and like trying to ruin everything, and saying like, you know, you're really great out there and you should be proud of like what you're doing. I thought it was such a great moment for the both of them. Big Red has been this great friend to Ricky, and I like that they remembered that in this episode.
Yes. I will say like it was such a beautiful moment for them, and I'm glad it was a thing, but I do wish there was a little more with them this season.
I agree.
But like I definitely like adored that season, and it was like a perfect way to end it.
Yeah, but I also feel like Jet has kind of taken on that role of like the best friend to Ricky. So I thought it made sense, like he was there and Big Red wasn't, because I like their friendship a lot. But there is a part of me that definitely wishes that like they had more scenes between Ricky and Big Red, because those are some of my favorite scenes in like the earlier seasons, and I just wish they had a little bit more with the both of them. But then the moment where Courtney finally admits to Jet that she wanted to go to, she picks a school and things like that, and she does it very subtly, and she realizes like what she really wants to do. I love that everyone throughout this show has like something going on, something that they're trying to deal with. Maddox, not sure if she can admit to Ashlyn her true feelings, and then thinking that Ashlyn might actually still be with Big Red, and her kind of like, struggling to tell her the truth and things like that.
That was a great moment too.
The both of them. And then when Ashlyn finally admits how she feels and showing her apprehension and that she's worried that it's going to ruin their friendship and things like that, but then them finally kissing, and probably the most random surprise, the most unexpected appearance for me was getting to see Jason Earls again. I was not at all, but even him, I thought they did.
I will say though, the Maddox and Ashlyn scenes, like that was such a beautiful moment. And then when they kissed, I'm just like, oh, this is so cute. My heart. I'm just so happy they ended up together finally.
And when at first they were like, oh, maybe we'll just stay friends, but then she like pulls her back in for a kiss. It was just such a beautiful moment. But I like seeing the scene.
They can be happy and just be together.
Yeah, I like the scene with Dewey before that, where he talks about how I always liked the two of you together. I thought you two were always really cute and things like that. It's a good way to bring back a character that I never really would have expected them to bring back, but I thought they even did good stuff with him. So I was fine with like how they wrapped up things with his character. I thought
Jason Earls is great. Like he doesn't need to be he only needs to be in like one scene because it was just iconic.
Yeah. What about?
It was very impactful and very effective.
Yeah. What about what they did with Antoine, with like him coming back? I was not expecting that at all when he came back here and he tries to like pine for Ashlyn one last time. And I was like, oh my God, we're doing this again. I didn't really know how they were going to do that. But then the actual reveal that like he wasn't actually French and he's just like this method actor. And all this time he's like had these feelings for Big Red and he's been trying to get closer to him. I don't know. How did you feel about the way they wrapped all that up?
Oh my God, that was insane. I didn't expect that to happen, but that was pretty cool too. Like now he can be happy as well. Everyone gets their happy ending.
Yeah, I
just thought it was just like, I was just like, oh my God, this is a surprise.
Yeah, it was super random and it was really funny, but also like it's fine. Like Big Red also can kind of end up with someone. He says like, I'll call you. Maybe they're going to start a relationship of some sort. I thought it was still like a good end for Big Red's character. It's like Big Red still everyone gets something at the end of the show. Yeah. And I thought that was really good. So just a lot of really great, satisfying moments for so many of these characters. And then, my God, I mean, we haven't even talked about it, but Gina's monologue in the final episode, is just absolutely incredible. It might be my favorite scene of the entire show, if I'm being honest with you. Just the way that she talks about like how the importance of everyone and what they really did for her, over the last year, which is crazy to me. The whole show takes place in like 2 years, but I think,
that's crazy actually.
But, her kind of like showing the importance of everyone in her life was just such an effective scene. And it was one of my favorite parts of the entire season. I really just can't use that moment enough with that monologue that she has.
Oh, her monologue is so like effective, just so impactful and very important and just like super sweet and wholesome and like definitely one of the best scenes of the entire show. And I literally like started getting emotional as well just watching it. And I love that it was actually like real emotions too.
Yeah, because apparently they didn't even tell them this was going to be the final season until the last episode because they wanted that.
We actually talked about that already.
Yeah, but I was going to say like they wanted that emotional like reaction. And I thought it was very effective that like it made this scene that much more powerful overall.
Exactly.
So, yeah, just one of the best scenes of the entire show, for sure. Really everything they did in terms of the HSM3 of it all, I thought all of it was just so satisfying to watch. I loved all the performances.
It was so good.
Yeah, very, very.
I thought it was like a very different finale, but it was incredible, and I loved what they did with it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get into, is that there's a lot I thought we were going to see in this finale that we didn't. I thought that for sure there was going to be some kind of time jump where we get to see like Ricky and Courtney graduate. Maybe we see Ricky like keeping his grades up, and maybe we get like this time jump to like Gina's movie star, Gina's career as like a movie star, and then getting to see like maybe the next generation of East High with like Emmy and Danny. And we didn't really get any of that. We got a much more like open-ended finale, but I feel like this was like the right finale for this show. And I think that
it was,
yeah, the note that they ended it on, I thought was honestly a very satisfying one. The only other thing to really talk about is what they did with Miss Jen in the finale. I thought worked really well here, where we find out that there was all this mail that was taken from her because Quinn was using up her office all season. And because of that, there was this letter from Wicked where Miss Jen, I guess, auditioned for Wicked one last time. And she finds out that she actually got in. And there's that moment where it's like, oh my God, is she actually going to stop being a teacher? Is she going to go pursue her career as an actress? And I thought it was a very effective moment where she just decides like, no, this is my calling. This is what I want to do. And, even that smaller moment with like EJ where she talks to him about like how you're going to be like a really great teacher. I could see you being a really great teacher someday and things like that. And her then telling EJ like, no, I already have like my leading role. I just thought was such a great moment for her all around.
That was such a stunning and beautiful moment. And it was just so emotional too. And like very heartfelt. Like, I love that so much.
And her and Mr. Mazzara finally getting together, I thought was also really great. Like they've hinted at throughout the entire like the last 3 seasons, and I thought it was a very satisfying moment. They finally got
like just because they had such like this really like cute and genuine chemistry, I had a feeling they would like throughout the season, throughout the series. I feel like they would have.
Oh, I think we lost Allie for a second. But I thought that was a very sweet and genuine moment. The only one thing I didn't talk about that I did want to bring up real quick is the choice to end Miss Jen and Ricky's dad's relationship. I thought was definitely the right one. I think that was a relationship that was working, but I like that they ended in a place where like the two of them just weren't like on the same page with things. And I thought it made sense to get these two together, because I think that they did set it up very well throughout the majority of the show. Season 2 felt like kind of random when Mr. Mazzara started to like her, but I thought they did a much better job of showing like the connection that they've had for each other, throughout the entire show. I thought it worked really well here. The way this always happens to us during like the beginning or end of a video. Oh, great, you're back.
Okay, what did you hear last?
We were talking about like the relation between Mr. Mazzara and Miss Jen.
Yeah. What was the last thing you heard of me say?
I forgot.
Oh.
Oh, you were just saying it was like a very pure and sweet relationship, and they had like really good chemistry.
Yeah, I was saying that they have like this. Yeah, their relationship has always just been so like pure, so like wholesome, and they always had like such a genuine and like authentic chemistry throughout the series. So I'm like thinking that they would probably get together at some point. So honestly, when they got together, finally, I'm just like my heart was like was so full because it was just so wholesome.
Yeah, definitely. I thought that it made a lot of sense. And I also brought up that I liked that. Oh, okay, that's cool. Excited to see where she goes.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, definitely. I did bring up that I thought it was also.
I think she'll definitely be very like huge as well as an artist.
Her and Liamani Segura are really gonna blow up. I think.
Oh, definitely. They're both so young, so like in a few years they'll like blow up.
Yeah. I was also saying that I think it was the right decision to.
And also, we do not stand StreamYard messing up our connection so much.
Yeah. I was gonna say I also think it was the right decision to break up Miss Jen and Ricky's dad because I thought that relationship was never really working, and so I like that they pivoted to her getting with Mr. Mazzaro, which just made a lot more sense overall.
Yeah, like obviously, like I really love like Ricky's dad so much. He's so nice and like so kind, so wholesome,
Even
and just like
that moment too, where like
and so supportive of Ricky all the time too.
Yeah, and I love the moment where he has a similar scene in the season 1 finale where he thinks his mom's going to be with another guy, but she's actually with his dad, and they're like trying to like work things out and like be cordial with each other. It was just, it was such a good moment. Like she's actually there for her son for like the first time in her life.
It was so good.
So great to see.
Yeah, like I was just, oh my god, like. I mean, I've never really hated Miss Jen and him together, but like I always like, but I'm like him trying to work things out with his ex-wife and everything. It's just like so heartfelt.
Yeah, definitely. I thought it was really great to see. And yeah, like I said, while there was a lot of stuff I would have liked to see in this finale, like what their spring musical was going to be, which Tim Federele did say most likely season 5 were to happen, it would have been The Greatest Showman, which would have been really cool to see.
That would have been so iconic.
I just feel like this is the right way to end it. Like you start with High School Musical, you end with High School Musical. You've gotten all these characters to a place where they've wrapped up their arcs. Ricky's dealt with, Ricky and Gina have both dealt with their issues with, self-destructive relationships and them not being able to like deal with change and things like that and keeping things from each other and that not being something that is affecting the both of them. Gina kind of recognizing the importance of each time in her life, finding a place where she can actually like settle after having to move around so long. Ashlyn now knowing a lot more about her sexuality and who she really is and having this relationship with Maddox, Courtney, being able to like figure out college and things like that. I feel like there's so much they were able to wrap up here that I generally feel like, yeah, I'm fine with it ending here. Like, yes, we don't get to see the rest of the year play out, but I was honestly fine with where they wrap up. I think there's a lot you can infer that's probably going to happen in like future seasons. It would be cool to speculate on what's going to happen, but I think it was the right call to end the show where they did. In fact, Tim Federele said he basically wanted to end it here because he was worried that like these people were just like really busy and they just wouldn't be able to come back. So I thought it was the right decision to just kind of end it here while it's still great. And with this high of them, successfully performing High School Musical 3, all of them are together, heading to Denny's after their performance. It just felt like such the right end to this show.
Yeah, I honestly love how they ended it too. It was just like very authentic and just like the best way to end the series for sure. I could see them coming back at some point, but like in a few years, like when people are less busy and things like that. And who knows, maybe Olivia would come back too, but it probably won't be for at least like 4 or 5 years or so into the future.
That's what he said. Like if we ever were to revisit it, it's probably not going to be for like 4 to 5 years because everyone's just like really busy. But I could see them maybe doing like maybe like a follow-up movie or something like that.
Yeah, or maybe just like a college years thing, or just like a college, or like maybe a after college reunion, something like that.
Yeah, but with that said, like if this is the last thing,
or maybe even just like some special.
Yeah. But with that said, like even if this is the last thing we ever get, I'm honestly really satisfied with how it paid off. There are things I would have liked to see a little bit more of. Like I said, Emmy and Danny, I think they could have done more with his characters. And I think they would have in future seasons had this show continued. But I think with how well they closed out so much of what they set up in this show, I really couldn't be more satisfied with how everything wrapped up. In fact, I generally think the finale is like the first generally perfect episode of the show. There isn't really a single thing I would change that happens in that.
I thought the last 2 finales have been incredible.
Yeah, I thought they just did such a incredible job with it. Even the moment at the end, the post-credit scene with the cast the actual cast, like not the characters, but the cast singing for good. And
I was gonna bring that up. Yeah.
I thought it was such a beautiful moment, the way they wrapped that up.
Oh my god, that post-credit scene with them singing with Wicked was just amazing and just like so heartfelt and just so emotional.
Yeah, it felt so final in that way, and I thought it really worked to end on the note that they did.
Yeah.
But,
it's like such a finale kind of ending.
Yeah, definitely. All around, I just thought this was just such an utterly satisfying finale. I was very happy with how they wrapped stuff up. Again, even though they only had 8 episodes, I feel like they did so much great character work. They had so many satisfying arcs that I generally just felt so good with them ending at this point. And I just really was so satisfied with how they wrapped up everything. So,
definitely. It is so good.
Yeah, all around, I think this was just a really strong final season. I think that the characters have really never been better than they have here. I think the performances have really never been better. I think what they do with all these characters, really just getting them to the point that they did, just felt so utterly satisfying to me. The musical numbers are in top form this season, really never been as good as they have here. They really just kind of pull out all the stops, whether it comes to the covers of HSM3, whether it comes to the original songs that they did, I thought worked really well. There's a lot that they're doing in this final season, but yet I never thought it felt too overstuffed. There's a couple things I think they could have done better with. Danny and Emmy, I think, like I said, could have been a bit more developed as characters. The arc between Carlos, Seb, and Big Red wasn't huge on that at all. But other than that, I was very satisfied with how this final season turned out. And I think especially with how it felt so kind of sudden that they were wrapping up the show, I generally was just very impressed by how well they were able to construct everything. I think that this is the best writing the show has ever done. It generally feels like this was the point they always were supposed to be at. It doesn't feel like they just kind of like retcon things and like were making it up as they went along. It just feels like this is what they wanted to do all along with these characters. I think when I first heard about High School Musical, the series, I really could have never expected it to end in such a profound and generally heartfelt manner that it did. And I'm just really happy with what this show did. I'm definitely going to miss it. I think that it was a really fun show to watch, but I think that this was definitely the right way to wrap it up. So overall, I was very satisfied with how this season turned out. To me, it's easily the best season of the entire show. And I'm definitely going to give season 4 of High School Musical, the series, in A.
Oh, yeah. Honestly, like besides like a few little nitpicks and a few little things here and there, the season was incredible.
Oh, yeah.
Like, yeah, besides the Carlos, Seb, and Big Red stuff, just fix all that. And then like obviously Danny and Emmy just not being developed that well.
Yeah.
I wish we got more from them. And then like a few little things here and there. Overall, like this is such a satisfying finale and series and season. Like, definitely the best season overall. Well, I mean, at first I thought season 3 couldn't be top, but honestly, this one definitely did. But not by much, because like both season 3 and 4 were incredible and fantastic, and I just love them so much. So overall, very satisfying finale and end to the series and season. And I wish sometimes I do wish it had like 10 or 13 episodes, but it was honestly good. Like they covered a lot. So I'm honestly giving it an A as well.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I did think that in the beginning of this season, I was like, I feel like this should have been longer. I feel like 8 wasn't enough. But by the time we got through those last like 4 episodes, which is really when they hit their stride, I feel like I was like, I'm kind of fine with them wrapping it up now. I feel like 8 was enough. They were able to do enough with those 8 episodes to where I felt satisfied with. So while yes, there are some things I think they could have done more with like 10 to 13, I think it's honestly fine that they wrapped it up with the 8 that they did. I will say, I wish they didn't release it all at once. I don't understand the decision to do that, because I feel like this would have been such a fun season to like watch week to week. And like,
I agree. Like I think they should have done either weekly or even 2 a week.
Yeah, that I could have seen them doing that, because episode 1,
2, 4, 6, 8, like have it just be a month long.
Yeah, I will say like episode 1 on its own, it's not the most like eventful episodes. I think if they did like 2 episodes like a week, that would have been good too.
Like 2 episodes a week, like single drunk female.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think in general, like, I just don't understand because he said, like, Tim Federele said, like, this was his decision. Like, he wanted to feel like this event of sorts, which I get. It's kind of like Stranger Things 4, like, when that all dropped at once, that was like a big event. But I've always contended that when you drop a whole season of television, it loses its momentum, like, the next week. Like, just people aren't talking about it as much. And so I feel like if they would have like spaced it out a little bit more, it would have been that much more of like an event in that way. But, you know, I'm just very happy with how this season turned out. I'm not going to complain too much. It's just something I wish they would have done a little differently.
Oh, yeah, same. Like, once, like, this was such a satisfying finale. And just besides a few things that I wish were done a little differently, overall, I really loved it.
Yeah. But with that said, that's it for, you know, our review. I can't believe this show is over. It's pretty crazy to me.
I know. It's insane. I'm going to miss it.
Yeah, I really am too. I think that this show, it just really kind of found its stride. I feel like, I feel like the first 2 seasons, they were really trying to still figure out what the show was trying to be. And I think these last 2 seasons, they really found their groove and they went out on like the best note possible. So it's just really
my order for seasons is 4, 3, 1, 2.
Oh yeah. Yeah. For me, it's like it's not even a contest. Like 2 is the only season I generally don't like. I just think there's a lot of things.
I don't dislike 2. It just has a lot of issues.
It's just not a very satisfying season. There's a lot of things that could have handled a lot better. But yeah, other than that, that's pretty much it for our coverage of HSM, the musical, the series. I think it's been a lot of fun talking about most of the show with you, aside from season 1. We didn't really get to talk about one together. But I'm glad we did 2 through 4 together, and I think it's cool.
Me too. I'm glad we did that because it's been really fun.
Yeah, it's definitely been a fun show to cover in like a podcast form and things like that. But yeah, I mean, this video was 2 hours long, which I think we kind of expected, considering there was a lot to talk about here.
But also because our connections cut out.
Yeah, that definitely didn't help either. But yeah, I mean, I'm just really going to miss the show a lot. It was such a bright spot most of the time, not so much season 2, but most of the time this was a show that I always looked forward to. And it's definitely sad to see.
Such an amazing show.
Yeah, but I'm glad that they ended on the note that they did. And I think I can safely say, controversial opinion, maybe a hot take, I do think this was better than the original trilogy. I think just the characters themselves were like so much better written. I think there's so many more places they were able to take them. So many more.
I mean, definitely, yeah, it's definitely like better written, but the HSM trilogy will always have a special place in my heart.
Oh, same. I just feel like what this did better was like in terms of like characters and things like that. And it just felt a lot more like authentic in that way. And I just think that the original trilogy I love in spite of its flaws. Whereas this, I mean,
technically with the original trilogy, like the main people that they focus on were just like Troy, Sharpay, and Gabriella.
Yeah. Whereas this felt like they just focused a lot more on like all the other characters.
Yeah.
They did a much better job with that.
Like sometimes a little Ryan, Taylor, and Chad, but not that much, and everyone else not much either. It was mostly the other 3.
Yeah, and honestly, with Disney Plus struggling as much as they did, I feel like this was like maybe their most consistent show. Like out of all the shows I've seen from them, this was their most consistent. I think there's a lot of shows that they've done have really kind of like dipped in quality. This show never really did, aside from some episodes in season 2. It never really lost like its stride, and I think that's
never lost its footing.
Yeah, that's what's really great about this show overall. But yeah, other than that, I think that's really it for our coverage of this season. I think we pretty much covered everything that we needed to. It's been really fun getting to talk about it. But are there any other things we want to plug before we wrap this up here?
Stay tuned for this week's Claim to Fame.
Yes.
And stay tuned for this week and last week's Stars on Mars.
Yes. Also, look forward to our ongoing coverage of a insane season of Big Brother in 25. We might potentially have a flip going on.
I know, it's going to be insane.
how that plays out. I think it's going to be very exciting week for sure. So I'm
Oh,
very
yeah.
excited to cover it. We have some other
And
things.
then, yeah, stay tuned for eventually when we finish Secret Chef. We've only watched the first little bit of the first episode.
Yeah, we'll see if we continue that. Also, the Traders and the Mole and the Circle will eventually be doing that.
Eventually.
Yeah.
And then of course in the fall, Survivor.
Yes, definitely. Look forward to all of that. Also, if you like us talking about shows that are not reality, I'm going to upload it very soon, but Ali and I are starting a new series on my channel. It's called What We Watched. We watch basically every single TV show together. So I just kind of feel like it made sense to have her on. So look forward to that on my channel. We will be every single month talking about the shows that we watched throughout the year and kind of giving more in-depth reviews of them that we otherwise wouldn't be able to. So definitely look forward to that. I'm very excited. We already did one talking about all the shows from like 2022 that we didn't talk about. So I'm very excited to premiere that video once we do it. So look forward to
I'm excited for that.
Yes. But other than that,
and then also like stay tuned if we end up just doing like any videos that aren't even reality shows. Maybe we'll just do like other like random videos. Who knows?
Yeah, possibly.
And then and also hit us up if you want to be a guest.
Yes, always.
Because we're always down to have guests.
Yeah, for sure. But other than that, that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, comment down below. Let us know what you guys thought of this final season. Are you as satisfied as we were? Were there things that you think could have paid off better? Love to hear your thoughts on all of that. But that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And remember, couples who podcast together, stay together. We will see you guys later.
Have a good night.